evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. To those on Rogers Television, welcome to this evening's Council meeting. If I can invite everyone to stand as they're able and join in the singing of our national anthem. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll have to do a little minor tweak to our video, I think. Well, it got the new wording correct. It seemed it got a little caught up in the beginning there with an error, so we'll get that corrected. It's been moved by, so Councillor Singh, you're clicking in for... Okay, I'll get to that shortly. It's been moved by Councillor Gazzola that the minutes of the regular meeting held February 26th and the special meetings held February 26th and March 5th as mailed to the Mayor and Councillors be accepted. All in favour? Opposed? That's carried. Conflicts of interest, Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. On item number 2 for the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee for 114-120 Victoria Street, I will recuse myself from taking any discussion or vote on that item as my parents own property in close proximity to that proposal.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Marsh?
On the same item, I have a conflict.
Okay, and you have to identify what the conflict is.
And that is that my family owns property within the vicinity of that.
Okay, thank you. We'll deal with that item separately when the time comes. In terms of communications, there are no communications to refer to file today, so we'll now move on to presentations. We do have one additional presentation that is not on your hard copy in front of you, but was subsequently shared in the revised version, emailed out to Council, and that's Joan Fisk, the CEO of the United Way Waterloo Region Communities. It takes a little bit of practice getting used to that new name. Welcome, Joan.
Thank you. Well, it's wonderful to be here and to be here in this new role of mine, and nice to talk to Dan twice today. He gets to hear my spiel. Why did I take on the job of Waterloo Region Communities? Because I've been asked that so many times, I thought I'd answer it in case you asked me. Because we need it. The United Way has been in existence for 140 years in the world. It serves 140 countries, but it had lost its way, I would say, a little bit in our region over the last 10 years. And our funding has not matched what we need it to do in terms of the community. We have 1 in 10 persons in Waterloo Region live in poverty. We've got 1 in 3 folks that have children that can't afford a second program at school, that don't have the income to do it. We've got 1 in 6 people in our community that has been affected by or may be affected by mental health issues. And what is the United Way there for? It's there to help with funding for these programs. We fund 65 agencies in the community, but we weren't doing it in a way that was equally done across the regions. So now with Kitchener as our largest city, Cambridge, Kitchener, North Dumfries, Wilmot, Wellesley, Woolwich, and Waterloo make up the region, the community. How exciting for me to be able to bring together some of the work that I learned at the LIN in terms of funding agencies and bring that same kind of message to the people that we work with here. Strangely enough, sometimes I even see the same faces. But our community depends on social service help, and that's what you do as councillors. You often have money in your availability to help with some of these very serious issues that we face, and there's never enough. I have a goal to reach $10 million by 2020. That's what we're asked for, to support the community services that we need. And we need to do it together. We need to do it with leaders like you who have given so much of your time to come here and serve your city and be here as a role model and leaders to the rest of the people that you live with. But I'm here because I really believe that poverty needs help. And although we won't fix it, we won't solve it, but we can maybe ease some of the pain that some people have found themselves in for one reason or another, and not just because they don't have all of the that's generational poverty. There's generational poverty, there's institutional poverty, but there's poverty that happens to you because just something really awful happened. So our neighborhoods are a great example. We support neighborhood programs, trying to get people to be neighbors. It's a funny concept that people aren't just neighbors, but that is something that we are working on supporting, and you know that's, as we bring in more immigrants into our community, we really need to be welcoming, and part of the United Way world is to do that. United Ways are funding differently, so we're doing this for a one-year project only. We'll only fund for 1 year, and in the following years we'll go back to the 3-year cycle that we would normally do. It's so that we can reset how we fund the community and how we distribute the money that we have available to us. We have 22 employees now working out of 50 Sports World. You might know that as the old Lynn office, where I was able to negotiate to get the two organizations together. So that's been great for me, and to get them all to work together. We've shrunk considerably in the number of folks that work there, but we are a small and mighty team of people that really have a passion to help our community. Now, I know I really only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to be quite careful, and if there was any questions, but what I'm here to do is to tell you that I need your help. I need your help as leaders in our community. Help get the word out that United Way is so important, that it's important for our community to support it. United Way is a little bit from a lot of people. We have 600 and some odd thousand people that live in our area. We need to be able to just give a little bit each. It's easy to do, and then there's lots of opportunity for volunteering. We now house the Volunteer Action Centre. We've put all of the volunteer centres together, so that's an exciting new program that we're working with. So on top of doing volunteer work, we are out there begging, asking, and trying to convince people that the United Way is a safe and efficient place to donate to, because what is given to us here is spent here. All money raised is spent locally, and everything that comes in that year goes out. It's not like a foundation where it sits there. So, I made it. So much more I could say. Oh, you might. So we're having a Spirit Awards on April the 25th. It's going to be held in Cambridge this year, so that'll be really fun. It's in the new Gaslight District, so we'll be able to launch that just before the Mayor, Craig City, addressed the following day. And we are there to really talk about how we can reignite our community to help support something as important as our personal United Way. So thank you, Barry.
Thank you very much, Joan. Any questions for Ms. Fisk? If not, I'll just take this opportunity to, thank you for taking on the role. It certainly, there wasn't a lot of time to rest between your Lynn role and this one, and you've taken on a monumental task, I know, but one that, as you've indicated, is so important to our community and to so many people in our community. And
I appreciate you listening to me, because I need you.
Absolutely. We'll do what we can. Thank you very much. Moving on to our next delegation, Dr. David Edwards, the Holman Director for the University of Waterloo School of Pharmacy. It's hard to believe it's already been 10 years. Dr. Edwards, welcome.
Thank you. As the mayor has mentioned, it is 10 years since the School of Pharmacy opened its doors, and we thought this would be a great time to come to council and say thank you. 2018 does indeed mark the 10th anniversary since we admitted our first group of 90 students at the University of Waterloo School of Pharmacy. That was not here in Kitchener. Our new building hadn't yet been completed, so that was up on the main campus of University of Waterloo. And a lot has happened in the past 10 years, including the building of the wonderful building that we have in downtown Kitchener. We started with, as I said, 90 students. We now have over 500 undergraduate and graduate students, faculty and staff that call the School of Pharmacy and the City of Kitchener home. We're closing in on 800 alumni, and our faculty have garnered close to $20 million in funding to support our research into better ways to use medications for the prevention and treatment of important diseases. We've certainly not forgotten your generosity in supporting the School of Pharmacy and the Health Sciences campus, and we continue to find new ways to give back to the community. We're the longest standing partner of Ray of Hope's Look Coldest Night of the Year, and our undergraduate students provide over 2,000 hours of community service annually. In the Kitchener area, our students offer outreach services to the AIDS Committee of Cambridge, Kitchener, and Waterloo. They translate for Syrian refugees through the Rockway Mennonite Church, provide warm meals to guests at St. John's Kitchen, and assist people with developmental disabilities at Pride Stables. We've hosted public lectures on a range of topics, including Alzheimer's disease, antibiotic awareness, and medication use during Ramadan. Faculty at the School of Pharmacy are leading organizations such as the Waterloo Region Chronic Pain Initiative and the Waterloo Region Integrated Drug Strategy. And we've been actively involved in leading the battle against the opioid crisis. Over 2,000 members of the local community have attended our seminars related to the use of naloxone as a harm reduction strategy for those struggling with addiction. We've worked with seniors to improve digital health literacy through a partnership with the KW Community Foundation, and we've gone into the schools to educate school children on a variety of topics, including the use of cannabis. This year alone, our students have gone into 13 local schools, given 30 presentations to over 600 school children. In recognition of our 10th anniversary, we've created the following short video, which I'm pleased to present to you now.
It's unique.
Inspiring, bold,
Great people. Ambitious. Trailblazing.
collaborative, and dynamic.
We didn't just want to start another pharmacy school that would be like all the others. We wanted a school that would be really unique. We wanted to make a difference in the pharmacy profession, in healthcare, and in research.
I think because our program is out-of-the-box program, I think we create students that are also out-of-the-box students.
Pursuing my graduate studies at the School of Pharmacy has been one of my greatest decisions. Many schools can teach you the ins and outs of scientific research, but what makes the School of Pharmacy different are the skills that can't be taught. Skills like forward thinking, self-advocacy, innovation.
We've been very lucky to have fantastic student leaders here at the School of Pharmacy, and I think as their professional careers develop, they're going to really take a leadership role in moving the pharmacy profession forward across Canada.
It tends to breed very top quality pharmacists. And that's great in the workforce because when you're trying to get a job, if you say you're from the University of Waterloo, you're regarded at a very high level.
I think over the past 10 years, the school has established some phenomenal collaborations, not only in the KW area, but nationally and even internationally. I see this trend continuing in the next 10 years.
I think the secret for the next 10 years is for pharmacy to increasingly find areas of engaging with patients, to be not just kind of almost an inanimate information provider, but to actually be tangibly involved with people.
I can't thank the school enough for all the opportunities it's given me to practice as a pharmacist and really be a meaningful healthcare professional in my community.
When I see that this transformative site and project really has delivered, it's hugely satisfying.
It's really a great feeling to be part of the School of Pharmacy family, and I think we really are a family here at the School of Pharmacy. We have fantastic relationships between faculty, staff, students, and alumni, and I think it all comes from this shared sense of pride in the accomplishments of the school.
So none of this would have been possible without the foresight of City Council in the early 2000s. And so on behalf of the faculty, staff, and students at the School of Pharmacy, we'd like to publicly thank you for your support of the School of Pharmacy and the Health Sciences campus of the University of Waterloo. We remain committed to improving the health of the citizens of Kitchener, Ontario, and Canada, and we look forward to continuing to partner with the city at every opportunity over the next 10 years and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Edwards. I don't see any questions or comments, so maybe I'll just make a few, and that is to say both Jake and yourself as the two directors of the institution have played together with your team such an integral role into creating that school to become the institution that it is, and to be in such an important part of the University of Waterloo family. But I think more importantly than that, you've played a huge role that really laid the foundations in what has become sort of the transformation and rejuvenation of our downtown core. And so, on behalf of all of us on council, thank you for the leadership that you've provided and all of the great things that so many of you that are part of the school are doing throughout the community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We look forward to celebrating year 20 and 25 and 50 with you.
Hopefully I'll be around.
Hopefully all of us will be. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now move on to delegations. And we have a total of 4 delegations for item 6 on the Community Services report. Although I'm not sure if the first delegation has arrived yet. Donna Henry? Oh, you're here. Okay, wonderful. If you want to come forward. And I want to remind delegations that you have 5 minutes to make your presentation. Welcome, Ms. Henry.
Hi. Just here regarding the parking on Yellow Birch Drive and some people wanting to stop that parking on the one side of the street. If you go to the next slide, you'll see what I call smart driveway parking, and that is backing in our driveway so that it's easy with the flow of traffic going down Yellow Birch, that it's easy to just pull out of your driveway rather than having to back out when there is traffic coming. We, as well as several neighbors, as you can see in the picture, do that backing into our driveway parking so that we have better vision. We have lived there for almost 20 years, and we do not know of any accidents from people coming out of their driveways onto Yellow Birch Drive. More so at the end of Yellow Birch at Trussler Road is where the accidents are happening. So just not sure why the grief has to be two neighbors that are too fragile to get out of their driveways pulling out. The rest of us are backing in to be safe. So do I just click here then for the, okay. I am a small business owner and have paid my licenses and zoning fees and everything for having my business in my home. And as such, I do have clients that park in front of the house. I did forget to put a picture in the slide of clients that are parked in front of my house, but I have that here if you would like to see it. I have been running the business for about 19 years. And clients do have the right to park in front of the house. I do have clients that are elderly and pregnant, so for them to park farther away isn't really feasible, and it's quite an inconvenience for them just because people cannot exit their driveway in a safe manner. So in closing, there were 2 speed bumps that were voted to be removed because neighbors were upset that they had lost their parking spaces in front of their house due to them, and that they weren't accomplishing what they were meant to do, which was slow down the speed on our street. So now we have those same neighbors that are wanting to ban parking on that side of Yellow Birch, which really, to me, makes zero sense. If their concern is speed of the cars, again, there is an option of them backing into their driveway to be able to pull out safely. I just think that the money that was put into the speed humps being voted to be in there and then voted to be coming out was quite a big waste of tax dollars. As well, if parking is banned on that side of the street, the other side of the street is then going to lose all of their parking spaces when they have family and friends that come over, as well as when my clients are there, they'll be taking up that parking as well. Back when we did talk about we had a meeting on our street in one of the driveways about the parking humps that were going in. We did have, I believe you were there, Bill, and one of my concerns was more so spending tax dollars to have safe walking zone for kids to cross the street to get the school bus. That, in my mind, would be much better keeping our kids safe. Getting to the parking or getting to the bus, we have about 4 buses that are just in that zone where they want the parking to be banned. And we have kids crossing the street all the time, and there is no zone there for them to cross. And that's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you very much. There do appear to be some questions for you. Councillor Fernandez.
Yes, thank you for coming in. Sorry. Approximately how many clients do you have coming into your business, sort of like 1 per hour?
There's usually only 1 car there at a time. If a client is late and then another one comes early, there may be maximum of 2 cars there at one time, but then very shortly that other one is leaving. So really there's only 1 car.
And they always park on the street? They don't park in your driveway?
No, because we have vehicles that park in the driveway as well.
Okay. And on the map, I'm just curious, you were just talking about safe school crossing to busing. Did you have a map here in your PowerPoint presentation?
I didn't, no.
Okay, so are you talking about Gold Meadow Drive where they're crossing to get the bus, or from Fran Allen Crescent?
The buses are stopping on Yellow Birch or on Golden Meadow Crescent, but there's kids that are coming from from Fran Allen and from Golden Meadow that are crossing Yellow Birch to get to the bus.
Okay. And the buses park on Golden Meadow?
One of them does, the other ones are on Yellow Birch Drive.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Onetsky.
Just for clarification, what side of the street are you on, the north side or the south side?
I'm at 215. I don't know what north or south. Sorry.
Okay, so you're on the side where
I'm on the side they want it banned.
You're on the side where the parking is being prohibited?
Not prohibited yet, but wanting to be prohibited, yes.
Okay, and you want it to remain? Is that
Yes.
my understanding?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to get that clarification. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, those are all the questions we have.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in. Our next delegation is Mr. Mike Flannery. Welcome back, Mr. Flannery. I understand you have some new information to share with us.
Has anybody drank none of this yet?
Sorry? Oh, don't know. You have now.
I have anxiety. My mouth is dry.
Oh. Don't have anxiety. We're not that hard.
In response to the last speaker's comments, you notice the one picture she showed there. There were no cars parked on the street. I live right next door to Donna, and First of all, the problem is there are 3 T intersections there joining up onto Yellow Birch Drive, including Hoddle, and that in itself causes confusion, commotion. When they say that there's 1, maybe 2 cars parked in front of their home at any one time, it's closer to 3, and it's closer to 1 or 2 cars in front of my residence as well. So when I'm trying to back out, I have cars parked on both sides of my driveway. And the concept of forcing people to back their cars into their driveways is a little extravagant. In fact, I think that's more dangerous than driving in. They don't operate strictly one business out of their home. It's 3. So there are cars continuously coming and going. There's a real turnover of cars on that section of Yellow Birch. And as far as the sight line goes, when I back out of when I get to the end of my driveway, I cannot, have you got the maps in front of you? I cannot see around that awkward bend that leads out to Iron Needles, okay? It's just enough of a twist in the road that if cars are parked on that side of the road, I can't see down to Iron Needles. And I guess I did approach them at one point and asked that they would consider their clients parking elsewhere. There are so many additional parking spots in the area. And there's an additional map that I gave out tonight. One is on Fran Allen, where there's parking on both sides of the street that would accommodate 4 cars. On Golden Meadow Drive, there's about 6 parking spots that are available, as well as right across the street on Yellow Birch Drive. Now, the thing I wanted to point out about those available parking spots is that if you look closely, there are no driveways in between any of those parking spots. So you're not disrupting anybody from pulling in or out of their driveways. And I guess in regards to the distance they have to travel to get to their appointments, I walk 4, 5, 6 times the distance from any one of those parking spots in a parking lot to go get my groceries, and I still get my groceries. So it's an issue where you can't please everybody, and that I think the people that I've lived in my home for 30 years, I think the people that live in that subdivision should have first call as far as the right to have sight lines pulling out, proper sight lines pulling out of the driveway. The Transportation Committee has been involved with this. They've been out to review and have considered it an issue. They've sent out votes, of which 70% are in favor of committing to the no parking. Okay. And the second tier up there are people that are interested enough to have that changed. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Flannery, for coming.
Any questions?
For coming in, and there don't appear to be any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next delegation is Mr. Roy Bartels. Roy Bartels here? Oh, yeah, okay. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. I'm pleased to be here as City Council. I, too, am opposed to the parking on Yellow Birch Drive at the corner of Golden Meadow. The aspect about it is, yes, it has been stipulated. It is a school bus zone where school buses are coming in and stopping between at that corner to allow students off so they can return home and in the morning to pick them up to take them to school. But I live directly on the corner of Yellow Birch and Golden Meadow. And I have seen the cars, yes, parked in front of that one business. People coming down Yellow Birch Drive, when they come to that intersection and a car is parked there, they are actually going a little bit over the center to go around those parked cars. They continue on down. When we have cars coming out on Golden Meadow Drive, not everybody stays behind the line. They proceed out into the intersection where now two cars on Yellow Birch are coming very close to each other. But I also have another statement. Every once in a while, you will have where Iron Needles would be closed down. Winter time is a very bad time. Between that one section where we live, they have closed it twice already, making Yellow Birch, Golden Meadow, and Highview a truck and car bypass. When the snow has hit, it can close things down. And then we have to have an emergency detour route to get vehicles around. Transports are large. I am a truck driver. And getting around that corner to continue on to go north can be very difficult. And with cars parked in that intersection, it will cause even more difficulty and is a potential for accidents. The aspect, we have to protect that particular intersection from any accidents, and also you can have the possibility of Iron Needles closing anywhere along the line from careless drivers. It wasn't too long ago that Iron Needles north of us was closed in both north and southbound directions because of a major accident. So we need to also protect and have emergency detour routes so that vehicles can safely get around transports to service the industry that is north of us. Let's see. I think that's pretty well everything that I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. There don't appear to be any questions, so appreciate you coming in this evening. And our last delegation is Ms. Darlene Lehman. Welcome, Ms. Lehman.
Thank you. Welcome. Hi. I, too, live at 101 Golden Meadow Drive, and we are at the intersection of Yellow Birch and Golden Meadow. I do see a lot of cars with those parked cars on the other side of Yellow Birch. They have to veer out to go around the cars, and if you're coming the opposite direction on Yellow Birch, you have to move over to try and get around the parked cars and the intersection, which is like an incline. So it also makes it difficult for you to see, like we park on the corner, so I have to turn left every time. And I cannot see when I have to go around that those parked cars to get into my driveway. It's not very safe, because I've been cut off a few times at that corner. So I feel that the parking should be prohibited. I think that's all I got to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
There don't appear to be any questions, so if you want to take your seat, Council will deal with the issue now. So this is item 6 under Community and Infrastructure Services. Councillor Galloway, Councillor Ioannidis, questions or of staff? Okay, we'll do that first then. Go ahead, Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Mayor Urbanovic. I just want to confirm with staff, when in regards to a situation with this, when it comes to the zoning and the on-street parking regulations, because when I've gone through this, looked through the paperwork, to me it looks like it's supposed to be limited to the property and not on the street.
Ms. Fletcher?
Through the chair, I did check with staff today just at a high level regarding the survey. I don't have the particulars around the zoning bylaw for the on-street parking with me.
Okay, because when I glanced through the zoning, it appears that it should only be one parking spot that should be included, unless it's a separate dwelling, a rental dwelling. Then it would be able to have one parking on street. So from what I'm looking at, this looks like it's just a home with a business, but it's not a rental unit, so it would be only one parking spot, which would be limited to the property.
Okay, I think we'll...
But anyways, that was the only question I kind of wanted to have. Just wanted to have that confirmation.
Okay. Staff will come back to it before we actually deal with this. And if I can maybe ask Councillor Galloway-Seelock to bring forward the recommendation.
Yes, it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Sarah Marsh that the staff report be approved. Okay. So to prohibit parking on Yellow Birch.
Okay. Thank you. Just trying to think. Staff, did you want to comment on it before we take council comments, or no? Okay. Councillor Arnaitis then.
Okay. Again, thank you, Mayor Urbanovic. Just before we make this decision, I just want to thank all the delegates for coming in and showing their concerns, and I appreciate that they came in on a Monday night and taking the time to come in and show their opinions and their views. The way I look at this as the councillor, when I look at the survey, I have to go by what the survey says and what the majority of what the residents would prefer. And when it looks like it's 65% of the residents are preferring to have no parking, then I have to respect that. I know when we had the speed bump removed, I know it was parking on both sides of the street. This time it's only on one side of the street. So it's still, there is some parking being taken away, but it's not as significant as the medium. In addition, when I look at the map and I see that there's the several side streets, as the delegates had mentioned, that there is areas there where for Mrs. Henry, for her business, if she could park there herself and have her clients park on her driveway, and then that way it would accommodate the other residents and herself with her clients. And I see that there is ample parking, and those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? If not, then all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So thank you to all of you for coming in this evening. Council has considered everyone's input, and in the end, Council has approved the recommendation, which is to restrict parking as was proposed in the original recommendation. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 6C, which is something that I think all of us generally look forward to in our school years, and that's report card time. And so I'd like to welcome Jeff Brown, Judy Stevens-Wells, and Leighton Collins from our Compass Kitchener Committee to present the 2017 Citizens Report Card. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As was mentioned, my name is Jeff Brown with Mayor Leighton Collins and Judy Stevens-Wells, and we are here to present the 2017 Citizens Report Card. So one of the mandates of Compass Kitchener is to prepare the report card and present it to Council. This is a good opportunity for Council to get the citizens' input on their perspective of how the city is progressing on strategic initiatives, ultimately with the goal of improving the community. The report card is aligned with the 2015 to 2018 strategic plan and is a reflection of the current state of progress. So the evaluation scale that was used, A through D, with of course A being the highest. And the first strategic initiative we'll speak to is open government, which we gave a score of A-. So the strengths that we identified were the open by default strategy, including the policy, systems, and training that go along with it, the development of the community engagement policy, the new data that has been added to the data portal, as well as the 2 participatory budget pilots at Sandhills and Elmsdale Parks. Now, 2 areas we noted in this initiative that need attention. With the extensive data that's available, it could be difficult for citizens to find what they're looking for. So things like summaries, infographics, that summarize information for citizens so they can quickly find what they're looking for would be helpful. And as always, regularly providing feedback to citizens on their input to further community engagement initiatives.
The next area that we looked at were as Kitchener's strong Israel and an economy. We're very encouraged by the city's forward thinking and the priorities that have been established. In particular, the economic development within the downtown core has made it a more desirable area within the city to come in than in several years. The Make It Kitchener strategy has also created some of the success through our partnering with the business leaders and innovators, the ones that we have, and the ones that we believe that will be graduating out of the secondary institutions across the city. We, from our interactions with many people out in the citizenry, we believe that it's quite fair to say that when people think about Kitchener, they think about a high-tech hub, and part of that high-tech hub is the leadership that we're showing that in digital connectivity that will help springboard us forward for years to come. As part of this, we've already seen several successes, including the Velocity Serena Science Lab, the expansion of Communitech, and working at the University of Waterloo to secure funding for the Advanced Manufacturing Supercluster. The area that we thought requires some attention, or continued attention, is revitalizing the arts and culture strategy, in particular the Arts Hub proposal. The area that we focus on this from the input that we've gathered is that we believe that people come here for the business, but they stay and become active community members because of the arts and culture to create a balance of work and play that we're all looking for. The next area is that we focus on and provided a very good B+, I believe, is a continuation or is the safe and thriving neighborhoods that we have. We believe strongly that it's a continuation of the previous topic, is that it's not just about working here, it's not just about having a house here, it's about living here, it's about being part of the community, and that's what makes Kitchener such a desirable place to live and people to want to come to here. We see that the strength of the citizens in the city working together through the Neighborhood Development Office and the focus that's being applied to what's happening and will be happening around the LRT stations. And all of this combining towards creating a quote-unquote walkable neighborhood strategy that we believe that people will be looking for or are looking for and looking for into the future. The areas that need attention that we were looking at as well is that while people are very interested in the investments that are being made within our neighborhoods, people are also interested in ensuring that these costs are value added. So they're wanting to make sure that the city is making investments, but they're making these investments wisely for a return on investment. The citizens' awareness of what's happening around the LRT stations as ION launches, we believe will be instrumental in both supporting the economy and the neighborhoods, both from the perspective that people won't look for opportunities to be part of the economy or develop further the neighborhoods if they're not aware of what's happening as these stations and the rapid transit launches. So we believe that the momentum that's already started needs to be maintained, and we think that will provide significant value leading into the future.
The fourth initiative that we looked at was sustainable environment and infrastructure, to which we assigned a grade of A. Looking at the strengths, first I want to note that we were really impressed with the kind of balance that the city is striking, looking at infrastructure alongside sustainable environment. We saw real benefits to the long-term infrastructure planning because it promotes better expense management, it enables smart strategic investments, and it also positions the city to make the best possible use of federal and provincial funds that come available. We really applaud the reduced greenhouse gas emissions, the light pollution and operating cost reductions, all arising from the replacement of streetlights with the LEDs, alongside the added benefits of the smart sensors that whole program provides. We really valued the city's forward-thinking approach to stormwater management and its low-impact development design guidelines regarding stormwater utility and the related environmental benefits that come with that. And lastly, the environmentally friendly transportation modes are really becoming a much more viable option for citizens here as a result of the sidewalk infill, the bike lanes, the trail maintenance and lighting that's been added. So those were the key strengths that we highlighted. In terms of areas that would benefit from attention moving forward, the first is the importance of continuing to update the signage and the trail and cycling maps so that citizens are really aware of what improvements there are, what routes are available to them, and the benefits of the routes that are available to them. The second and third areas that we thought would benefit from continued attention were continuing the cycling infrastructure improvements and also the updating of the cycling master plan to increase the number of connected neighborhoods so that cycling is really an opportunity citywide for people. And the fifth and final strategic initiative that we looked at was effective and efficient city services, to which we assigned a grade of B+. We thought the integration of the Civic Innovation Lab within Communitech reflected a really unique approach to generating creative solutions for our city. We were impressed by the commitment to ongoing improvement in service delivery achieved through internal audit initiatives and service reviews, and we also noted the improved day-to-day interactions with the city that are arising as a result of new technologies that have been added. Things like the recreation management software, the tax and utility e-billing, and the new parking payment technologies. Given the importance of employee satisfaction and development to the city's success, we really applaud the corporate talent strategy, the employee cultural survey, and the implementation of the people plan action items. And lastly, knowing that residents want good facilities in which to enjoy sports and recreational activities, we really value the city's development and redevelopment of assets, including Kiwanis Park, the Odd, and Southwest Park. looking at areas that would benefit from attention moving forward. The first was to encourage that the city really presses on with development of the long-term financial plan, as it will develop important elements that will impact future decision making. And we think there's real value in seeing that happen sooner rather than later. And we also noticed that the range of accomplishments in terms of city services is huge, but our sense is too few people know about it. So we think the more that can be done to get word out about that, the better. So that's really the end of Compass Kitchener's presentation this evening. We really thank you for the opportunity to present the report card. As you can tell from the grades that we've assigned, we see the city as making really good progress. The city's strategic plan is clearly an ambitious one, and while, as you've heard, there are areas that we would recommend attention be given to moving forward, we're really excited to see the progress that's taken place across all 5 of the strategic initiatives that have been set out, and in particular, the advances that have been made with respect to open government and sustainable environment and infrastructure. So those are our remarks this evening. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, let me begin by saying thank you to not only the 3 of you, but also to the rest of the committee and to Laurie Major, the staff support for all of, I know what has been many hours of hard work getting to the point of preparing this. And you know, one of the things that I often talk about in terms of us as a city is our comprehensive strategic planning process that matches the term of council, and the fact that we have this citizens committee that actually goes and grades council and issues a report card to us every year. And it's something that not very many communities do. Quite frankly, it'd be hard pressed to identify another one that does. But I think it speaks volumes as to how important citizen input is, and the role of the committee, and how that fits in with our overall strategic planning process. So thank you, and I guess thank you also for making sure we have a card that we don't need to sort of hide from our parents when we go home this evening.
You can all be proud going home.
So with that, we have several councillors who have some questions for you, and we'll start with Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to Jeff, Judy, and Leighton, thank you for coming forward and presenting. I share in the Mayor's sentiment that truly Compass Kitchener provides an invaluable service to this council, and true to its name, keeps us, guides us to the path of how to best serve our citizens. So the work that your committee as a whole do, thank you for that. And I think the yearly report card is a really good metrics in seeing exactly are we achieving the goals that we initially set ourselves for, individually as members of council and collectively as city government as well. In any metrics, and looking at this report card, reading through it, spoke, I think in positive terms, the good work that the corporation, our staff, and this council through its leadership are aiming to achieve, and we are meeting those targets as well. 2 things that do jump out to me where I would have loved to see a higher grade, and I'll look to take your feedback as well. And this is, I think, 2 strong points, for me at least, that I aspire for: strong and resilient economy and effective and efficient city government. Although B and B+, I would love to see more towards an A. Simply saying, apart from just dictating a number of grade, I'm just saying that we need to aspire to achieve the maximum in those metrics. You've lightly mentioned some things that we need to aspire towards. In the economy aspect of it, I think talent attraction retention was one. Is there anything else? Does the committee also gauge the confidence of our citizens when it comes to the economy, when it comes to aspect of finding employment? Is that ever looked at as well?
I'm not sure we can comment specifically on that. That's not an area that we talked about at great length. Certainly, as you saw in the comments in our presentation, one of the strongest feelings was that the community needs to be a vitally exciting one in which to both live and work. And hence, some of the emphasis in our areas needing attention fell to the arts and cultural areas, so that we're sure that people have a rich array of things to do beyond going to work and mowing the lawn at home. There certainly was some conversation around the challenges with manufacturing jobs, and we saw the work that's been done working in partnership with the Regional Economic Development Corporation as very positive in terms of developing the advanced manufacturing supercluster, and that really helps augment the manufacturing activity that I think people are looking for in the community.
And that's good, and that's why I asked this question, because again, we are in transition. As you know, the basis of employment here regionally, where we're shifting from a manufacturing-based economy, more so in the past, and now more to a service maker and tech economy. So it's good that we are trying to achieve that through our collaboration with other cities. And to the later point in the for effective and efficient city services. And I think your comments provide us good direction as to what more that we can aim to focus on. The consideration of customer service delivery, is that also looked at? Are we achieving our desired results in providing satisfaction to our customers? Ultimately, too often we refer citizens just as taxpayers and citizens, but ultimately they are our customers also.
Certainly in the discussions that we had around the table, people were impressed by the ongoing review and auditing of service delivery, and also impressed at the additions of technology that people have seen implemented at the city, that, as I mentioned, the recreation management software, the tax and utility e-billing systems. So I think people see those as positive additions or improvements in terms of service delivery to citizens.
Well, thank you to the three of you and the entire committee for keeping this council honest.
Okay, Councillor Ioannidis.
Thank you, Mayor Urbanovic. Yeah, I just want to thank you three as well for the hard work and dedication. Really, I just have one quick question and a comment. I guess my question is, do we have a comparison of how we did the last report card? Because I could have swear we did better, but
we actually talked about that with at length, because we didn't have a curriculum that we could actually say that we were comparing apples to apples. At one end of the spectrum, we were talking about, it's like, okay, we're talking about the difference between grade 9 and grade 10 English literature. And how do you compare the two when they're different? So we understand that the previous Compass Kitchener team had a different strategy, and then we also adopted our own unique strategy to the members and the strengths that we each brought to the team. So we tried to stay away from, we ultimately decided that it was better to stay away from comparing to previous years.
If I could add to that as well, we observed that the last report card you received was 1 year into the strategic plan, so it's really at the early stages. Now we're 3 years into a 4-year strategic plan, so people are beginning to see the fruits of that early work, and it's a different stage to look at. And so we really felt it was inappropriate to stress the relative grades in each area. It's really a snapshot looking at today. And as well, you have changeover in our committee. So there are going to be some variances from that.
Okay, so in other words, that's still very good news. It's two different committees giving us both great grades. I guess, yeah, overall, I'm pretty pleased. I'm excited with this report card again, as it shows that we are listening to our constituents and we are doing a good job. One of our strong and a resilient economy with a B is the one that I often hear around this horseshoe, that we do too much, and that's ironic that that's our worst grade. So I find that kind of interesting.
We think B is still a pretty good grade. I think we touched on the points about having challenges with manufacturing jobs versus is the high-tech structure that's being implemented and becoming more prevalent within our economy. And what is it for the people who haven't had the opportunity to go to post-secondary educations or into labor fields? That what are they supposed to do? And this was part of the influence. That said, we also believe that Kitchener, in many ways, is the envy of many other municipalities in southern Ontario. The things that we're accomplishing that from within the city of Kitchener itself, from what we've seen, what we've witnessed, what we've heard, we believe that other municipalities are looking at Kitchener and going, how did they do that? And and how can we get on board? And how can we do that? So it may be a B, but B is still pretty good.
Okay, Councillor Fernandez.
Thank you. So, as a previous educator, I always find it interesting to see A grades, and so I'm going to have questions around the A grades with regarding to how did you rate it? What was your metrics and rationale? I mean, was it, did you have input from just your groups? Were there small subcommittees? Did staff give you? Because I'm wondering, how did you know about the employee culture survey, the people plan? There's a number of items in here. I'm thinking, oh, how do they know about that? So, yeah, that's a big question. It may take a few minutes to answer.
Sure. So, as a committee, our whole group had input into the grading of it, and we had a lot of background information from the city. So we had a lot of knowledge of the initiatives that were undertaken, as well as like the status of them, how they were progressing. So I think as a committee, we were able to really assess and give our own personal input into how we thought the city was progressing versus their targets and how they were achieving them.
And we also met with the representatives of the 10 advisory committees and sought their input before we began the process. We didn't do external surveying this year. We had enough work to get up to speed. We had a lot of new members, and we wanted to get up to speed on all the initiatives. But it was a slightly different process than undertaken in the last report, where it was looked at subcommittee by subcommittee, and this was whole committee input throughout the process.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that you said that you met with the chairs or vice chairs of the subcommittees, because I think that's really important to get an understanding of what those committees are talking about. So sitting on the environmental committee and the cycling committee, I was a little bit surprised that you recognized that we're doing so well, and because many members of our cycling committee would not agree with you specifically, and certainly would never have given an A on the report card. But that said, you also said that we need to review our cycling master plan, which is definitely something that is in the works. The other one that I was a little bit interested in reading about is the effective and efficient city services. I just had to do some stuff on our website today, and I was absolutely unable to navigate it. I ended up having to ask a staff member to help me. And I wondered if that website was something that you as a committee looked at or had any input on how that was functioning.
We did have some discussion about it. Certainly it's a relatively recently launched version of the website. People were excited by what they were seeing. Clearly there's work still to be done in updating links, that some of the links are not taking you where you expect to go, and I think that's to be expected in the early stages of a new website that's as extensive as the city's is. Mm-hmm. But that, I think, was the overall feeling in our discussions, that yes, it's moving ahead. Yes, there's some glitches to work out at this point.
So your term will be, the Compass Kitchener's two-year term, right?
Yes.
So you'll be coming into sort of the wrapping up portion of your term. What kind of legacy messaging are you hoping to leave? And of course, I'm hoping that there's some succession planning, that many members will return. Will you leave for the next group? Because I don't know that we did a report card last year. I thought it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
You thought so? Okay. So I think it's important that, you know, some of what you've done, the work, the groundwork, the foundation you've done will carry forward. Is there some plans for that?
I'm not sure I can really comment on what we see or would like to see as our legacy. It's a committee that works totally by consensus, and there hasn't been a discussion around that particular topic. There certainly has been some discussion around the fact that there may be opportunities to follow up, for instance, from the surveys that go into the early development of the strategic plan, to see if we can identify participants that would welcome follow-up at a later stage, so that there's an opportunity to do follow-up with people who said, here's what we think is important to come back to down the road. But that was simply one item of discussion and not something we have arrived at consensus on.
Okay, thank you. It's a tough task, because I did the report card for the Cycling Advisory Committee a couple of years ago, and we worked on that for a really long time, so I can really appreciate how much this takes, and you know what, I'm never averse to a B, because I think that shows that there's always opportunity for improvement, and I think that we should always be striving for improvement.
Councillor Marsh.
Thank you, Mayor Verbanovic. Well done. This is really great to have, you know, being on the other side of the podium from you. It's been a few years now, but I am really pleased to see that the report card in its new iteration, it continues. I also was, most of my questions have been answered, but I do have a couple left. One is just, I wonder about the mark for the environment. This must be the best mark for the environment we've received so far, so I guess we're doing something right. But can you speak a little bit more to what you feel we need to keep doing to get an A next time?
In which area?
Sustainable environment and infrastructure.
Well, I think, as is the case in a few areas, communication with citizens, so that people's understanding, for instance, around environmentally friendly transportation modes, so that there is a broader community understanding of what opportunities there are. One of the resounding elements in our discussion is that people in our community we perceive are busy, they're interested in things, there is a lot of information available on the city's website, but it isn't always easy to get to quickly in a summary version, which is what we sense many people are looking for. And so a key is unraveling that question of what are people looking for with respect to environmental issues, environmentally friendly transportation. How do we present that in a way with infographics, with maps, with those sorts of things? Yeah. I think those are really key.
Yeah, okay. And then with regard to the B in the strong and resilient economy, what I got from the presentation was that you really honed in on the arts and culture sector, and that we really need to do better and sharpen our attention on that area. And so I really take that to heart, and I know that this council has demonstrated support for the arts and culture in the past, but that we can really, we can always do better, right? And so I really think that it's a strong message that we hear loud and clear. And I just want to thank you again, to echo some of my colleagues' comments. I really know how hard this is to arrive at, and I congratulate your whole team on the work that you've put into this report card, and so thank you. We if we have additional follow-up questions one-on-one, then we can come to you. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor Vivanovic, and through you, thank you so much for this report of this information. It gives us some good direction going forward. I was happy to see your recommendation of making sure that cycling is a viable means of transportation across the whole city. As we continue to update our cycling master plan and implement more cycling lanes, we often hear a strong pushback saying, well, only 1% of the city rides bikes, but yet you're recommending that we still increase and keep on this good path. What led you to that direction?
You know, I'll start and you pick up the ball. So, from the interactions that we've had from the all committees meetings and just our general day in, day out, all committee members speaking with the people that we encounter on our day-to-day activities, is that there is a good understanding out there that it's important for people to engage in the health benefits of cycling. The problem that we found fairly consistently is that people don't know how to take opportunity of the trails, the signage. For example, just a personal example, I live on the West End in Bill's ward, and there's a hydro fields area that's great for off-road biking, trail biking. Nobody knows about it. And it's that type of area that we're talking about in here.
And I think the other sense we had was that adding to the interconnectivity between areas of the city will grow the number of cyclists as well. If people have difficulty with a certain transition from one area to another, then cycling goes off their list of meaningful day-to-day forms of transportation. Once people understand, once the infrastructure is in place and people understand it's in place to make those citywide connections, more people will start to make use of those.
Okay, great. Another thing I just wanted to ask opinion on is, you know, we're talking about our commitment to our facilities like Kiwanis Park and the South Kitchener District Park. One of the opportunities that was presented to us recently was an opportunity to explore a partnership with a community center working with the school board. Is that something that you think that the citizens would like?
That's a really tough one for me to gauge in commenting. I'm not sure about my colleagues. My sense is, again, that's not something we've really explored in our dialogue as a committee. So you could hear from me or Leighton or Jeff, but we don't have a committee view on that per se at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Yanetsky.
In listening to your presentation, your PowerPoint comments that you had on the screen, and then reading the report, I'm a little confused, and maybe you can help me out on open government. And in that, you had in your PowerPoint, the left-hand column, all of the positive comments and good deeds and things that have been happening. And on the right column, you think needs for improvement. And one of the needs for improvement was talking about better access, and this has already been alluded to the website and getting information and trying to find where you're going and making links, etc., which is extremely challenging. I find it even very difficult myself. Yet in the report card here, it provides excellent public access to all the information on the website. So you say one thing in here and an opposite in the on your presentation. Could you help me out?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think the difference is there is a lot of information available on the website if you know where to find it and you have the time to look through, because there is a lot of data there. I think the barrier is, in the feedback that we got from the all committees meeting as well, is that the data can be extensive and overwhelming when you're trying to find what you're looking for, which is where the things like summaries, infographics, things like that really summarize the information and bring it together would be helpful. If that's helpful there to clarify.
that really there are two kinds of information, I think, that people are seeking. There are certainly citizens and groups that are looking for the in-depth information that is available. There are also citizens who are interested in getting a feel for an issue, that aren't going to read several meetings worth of minutes to explore that topic, but if there was a meaningful summary that could capture the essence of where things have moved on an issue or a particular topic, that would really be welcomed by people. The challenge for the city would be identifying from amongst citizens what the focal areas for that summary information need to be, what they are, and then what kind of summary or infographic will best capture that information. I don't think we're suggesting that we want to get rid of the extensive information that's there. It's adding those entry points for people who aren't heavily engaged with a topic but want to know more, want to know about a decision in their neighborhood or on at a committee level at the city, but they aren't going to read all the documents that will get them to that.
Well, I'm not expecting to read all the documents because there's so much reading to do. You could spend days on that. But it's, and having that information there on the website, I think is fine. I have nothing against that. It's just trying to find it. And sometimes you got to find those keywords, or you got to find the right links. And sometimes they take you somewhere where you don't want to go, or they say it's not available, and they maybe didn't use the right catchword or something. I don't know. That's the challenges I found. So I thought maybe that's the similar problems you guys encountered as well.
Yes, we heard that repeatedly over the past year as well, is that when people were successful in finding what they wanted, it was, this is great, this is fantastic. And they were overwhelmingly happy at finding that information. Usually it took some support from a city staff member or someone to do it, but using a real-world example, it's like, who's heard of Google? Who's heard of Ask Jeeves? Our search capabilities within the city's portal right now is closer to Ask Jeeves than it is Google. And that's the area that needs an improvement.
So I appreciate your comments. I actually found the previous website easier to deal with. That's my experience from it, but that's just a matter of my opinion. But maybe a lot of people have the same opinion too.
We probably gave it lots of latitude because it's early stages, and transition in websites and updating links is challenging. So although we had some discussion about issues, I think we said, this is early, we need to get there.
Councillor Etherington.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, first of all, I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to say these are better grades than I ever got in school, so I really appreciate that. It's been a long while coming.
So your parents would be very happy today, Councillor Etherington.
This is one for the scrapbook, Frank.
Yeah, I'm going to clip it out, that's for sure. I agree with all of it. I only had one problem, and there'll be a collective groan from council. If you look at safe and thriving neighbourhoods, you give it a B+. And I realize you're dealing with a cross-section of issues within that particular section. But the one that I disagree with, and the one that I would give us a C, maybe even a D, the kind of marks I used to get in school, relate to the mix of housing. And I'm going to quote your words out of there, and I'm picking and choosing words, I recognize that. You talk about walkable neighborhoods with a range of housing options. Further down, you talk about the developments around Midtown and Rockaway LRT stations. Support for the development of vibrant neighborhoods in those areas, plans for a mixture of housing. I won't go on, but I had a couple of questions there. In looking at this and choosing these words, did you find an affordable mix of housing on or near the LRT route in those areas? And if so, can you tell me where they are?
I'm not sure we discussed in that detail in terms of specific areas. Certainly our sense is that from the perspective of developing plans, our feeling is that that's the direction the city is moving in and that that's a desirable direction in which to move. Clearly, this is an area where perhaps we're earlier in the stage of actual implementation, of seeing the results. But the aspiration is evident.
Yeah.
Like we recognize that the city is doing important work in the neighborhoods, and we do see it more than anything else as foundational. One of the examples that we used a couple of times, especially in preparing for this presentation, is that the foundation that the City of Kitchener is laying now is in very much ways when iPhones were a concept. It's like Apple's had these things sitting on like a back shelf somewhere for 4, 5, 6 years. Now look at them. It's so what we see with what's happening with the neighborhoods is something that, the uptake is slow right now, or slower than some people would like. But it's something that 5, 10, 15 years from now, people will be looking at it and going, oh, why didn't we do this sooner? And so we're laying a good, strong, solid foundation, and we believe that'll carry us over in the future. That's why we gave it a B+.
My question is based on exactly that foundation. You got a chance of that foundation now, and then it'll be gone. And if that mix is not put in place, you've lost that opportunity. And I know I'm on my soapbox again, but I would love for Compass Kitchener, you do a great job, to look in the future to partly look at that mix of, and I'm talking about affordable housing, and God forbid subsidized housing, when I point out these things. But thanks again for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Councillor Davey.
Thank you. Just comment, Mr. Mayor, I'll be brief. I just wanted to thank you guys for the work on this, and just I'm reminded every time that we get a report card as to the value of this, because when I looked at the grades, I too saw the B for strong and resilient economy, and I thought that's kind of strange. I follow the top line numbers very closely. I know that Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge region, they sort of measure it all together, and we're knocking out of the park in terms of unemployment figures. We're below Ontario and the country. But then I went through and I started reading it, and you make some excellent points in terms of the resilience. We need to do a lot of work with respect to manufacturing jobs, because not everyone's an IT or engineer type of person, and the arts and culture sector as well. So it's just one of those things that keeps us balanced and grounded, and those extra inputs are great. So I just want to thank you for this, and I promise I will have both of my children sign this, and I will return to you on Wednesday. Thank you.
So with that, that has been all the questions. I maybe have one, and as part of the process, you outline all the different sort of inputs that have happened. Staff have provided you information and so on. I'm wondering if whether this might be helpful or not. Have you ever sort of engaged with our senior leadership team in terms of having them sit down with you and sort of review where things are at? And would that potentially be helpful? Is that something maybe to consider from a process point of view in the future?
It's not something that we've discussed to date, at least during my tenure on the committee. But certainly that would be a wonderful vehicle for us to gain another set of perspectives in the course of our process. So that's certainly something we could think about.
It might be interesting, because it would probably feed information into the process that maybe is there already, but maybe isn't. I'm not sure. But overall, just to once again say thank you to the three of you and all of the rest of the group for all of your efforts. I know folks focused on some of the things that we could perhaps put a little more energy into, and that is one of the strengths of this process for me that I've always found I put a lot of value into, because it allows us to reflect on what's going well. Reflect on, are we communicating some of the things that are happening well enough, and maybe we need to tell that story more. I think of, partially because I've also just gone through the update of the regional website. One of the things I'm coming to appreciate is sometimes people within the organization versus people outside of the organization see and think through the website in different ways. And that's part of the process, and there probably isn't an exact science to it, so it's something that we need to continue to work on, and that's probably the balance that they're always trying to figure out on that. But overall, thank you. I'm very appreciative of this, and look forward to the continued work of Compass Kitchener going forward. Councillor Galloway-Seelock, you wanted to add something?
Just a quick comment, because I didn't have any questions, because I appreciate all the work that you do and all the effort that goes into this. And this is probably one of the biggest documents that we receive, and it really holds us accountable, and it shows that we have citizens who are that engaged to take the time out of their lives to grade us on how we are doing. And I think it's really great that you're able to do that, and that we're able to receive that feedback and move forward. And so I just thank you for all the time and energy that you put in and that staff put in to this document and holding us accountable. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
School's out.
School's out. Well, actually, school's back. Okay, moving forward, I'm going to deal with two items next before we get to the tenders, and the first one is going to be, I believe it is, well, which one was I? Item 3 on Committee of the Whole, and I see Mr. Paris is here to answer any questions along with his partner, and so don't want to keep you too long. Any questions on number 3? Moved by Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ioannidis. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That was that easy. Sorry? Sorry? One more? Which other one? Iron Horse? Okay, somebody want to move by Councillor Fernandez, second by Councillor Ioannidis? Iron Horse, it is item 1-2, 1-B1 sub 2. You have questions on that, Councillor Etherington? Go ahead.
Just a couple of quick ones. I noticed that the bridge...
You got to speak, yeah.
Sorry. I noticed that the historic trestle bridge has been taken out of this. Could someone give me a few details on that as to why it was taken out? I guess it's for budget reasons, but...
Ms. Fletcher?
Through the chair, it was for budget reasons, but it was put in originally as a separate item, that if the budget could assume the cost of redoing the bridge, we would try and pair up the work at the same time. It was always contemplated that it may need to come out.
And Ms. Fletcher, what condition is that bridge in? Is it safe?
Through the chair, the bridge has been inspected recently. There is no cause for concern at this point. I mean, if you want further detail, I'd invite Mr. Paris down to talk specifically.
Yeah, I have no concerns about it. It just seemed very old, and I was just taking precautions there. But the work will be done on that bridge presumably in the near future, am I correct?
Through the chair, the bridges are inspected regularly, and work will occur when it is deemed necessary.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Gazzola on this item?
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to double check. When this project was brought to council, is that the amount of the budget that was estimated for that part of the project? I don't remember it being that high.
Through the chair, that was the amount of the budget for that section of the trail.
For the center section?
Through the chair, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Councillor Fernandez?
Yeah, I'm just unsure about the Victoria Park general provision for $185,000. I don't understand what that component of this tender is.
Through the chair, there is a general provision for the Victoria Park, and part of that provision is for the trail network going through the park.
So we did some work a few years ago around the CN crossing, and I thought we had done some work expanded on either side of that. Wasn't that what was done, or?
Through the chair, I would invite Mr. Paris to.
Mr. Paris, can you help us? There we go. Go ahead.
So through the chair, the provisions for the parking lot in the back end, so it's right near the David Street realignment that we did do 4 or 5 years back.
Okay, so this is just expansion of the work that was already done a few years back?
It's a connection into Victoria Park, that's correct.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gazzola?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'd like to go back to that question. The budget now has a $600,000 amount that is a grant from the region, from the province via the region. Is that right?
Mr. Paris?
Through the chair, that's correct. It's $600,000 through the Public Transit Infrastructure Fund.
Was that, when we first contemplated that, was that there?
Was it? Sorry,
I thought that's just a recent senior government program. So when we first contemplated this project, was that amount there, or was the amount to come from somewhere else?
So through the chair, no, that was not originally accounted for. That came through that grant program approximately May 1st of 2017.
So I go back to my question. When we originally dealt with this, what was the...
Mr. Chapman or Ms. Fletcher, who's handling it?
If you refer to the top of the second page of the report, what's noted there is what was in the budget, that the budget carried the funding for the trail improvements, but not sufficient funding for the lighting. It was acknowledged that we would seek to secure grant funding for the lighting improvements, and that's what the region's contribution is going towards.
Which is fine, but that's more than we had planned for.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Mr. Chapman, can you click back in? Go ahead.
Through the chair, no, it's not. We'll recirculate the issue papers, but the issue paper clearly spelled out what the total cost would be, including lighting, and flagged the fact that we did not have sufficient funding for the lighting work and that we would seek grant funding to do it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Etherington?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Paris, just a quick question. At the very rear end of what was the Nougat building close to Queen and Victoria Park, they are donating a small area of land to be a rest area along that trail. Is that part of this plan? Or?
Mr. Paris?
So through you, Mr. Chair, no, it is not part of this plan. They're not that progressed through that process. And just to clarify, I wouldn't say it's a donation, it's a dedication as part of the just traditional or typical planning process.
But when it happens, it won't involve tearing out the work that we've done?
No, it will not.
Thank you.
Oops, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And now I will move to our planning item, since I see a whole bunch of people here. And that is item number 2, under Planning and Strategic Initiatives. Councillor Ioannidis, you're moving it. Who's seconding it? Seconded by Councillor Galloway-Seelock. Any questions? Not. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to record the fact that I changed my vote from planning from a negative vote to a positive vote, and the reason I did that was I met with the company, the development company Momentum, and I was very pleased with that meeting and very pleased to discover, under a different company name, that they are in fact pursuing some small affordable housing projects in Kitchener and in Waterloo. So I really wanted to compliment them on that and note the fact that I've reversed my vote. Thank you.
Well, okay. So with that, it has been voted, moved, and approved unanimously. You're free to go. Or stay if you want for the rest of the meeting, if you're so inclined. Thank you. We'll now move on to the tenders, and Ms. Palmer is here. Somebody care to move the tenders? Councillor Ioannidis, seconder. Councillor Etherington. Any questions on the road improvements? Councillor Gazzola?
Yeah, I'd just like to, it mentions here that you're doing all the paving for the projects for the last couple of years. With this paving that you're doing here, does that catch up all of the back stuff that hasn't been done?
Who wants to take this? Ms. Palmer.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, this is our annual tender that we do each year, and it has the same words. We're always working on projects for the previous past that were done 2 years prior to do the top layer of paving.
No, I appreciate that. We're setting aside more and more dollars. Are we using all the dollars that we have set aside? Are we caught up with what we had planned to do?
Mr. Chapman, you want to add something?
Through the chair, if you refer to page 3, you'll see that the majority of the funding, and even from the project list, is dedicated towards surface replacement, so it's not tied to the accelerated infrastructure program. And the words of a previous engineer, Grant Murphy, always ring true in my mind when I see this report, which is that it's funding the worst of the worst. Our pavement quality scores are still lower than we need them to be, and so this by no means catches us up. It simply deals with the worst projects for 2018.
But they were under the ARP.
Through the chair, the only costs that are related to ARP are the first 3 lines in the budget, so that this would be the top course of asphalt for those projects. The majority of it, and you can see from the headings on the following page, are for milling, pulverizing and overlay, laneways rehabilitation. None of that work includes water, sewer, and stormwater work.
Okay, I'm just reading the middle of the first page where it said that they were fully reconstructed under the ARP.
So that's a portion of the program, but not the majority of it.
Okay. So it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We'll now move on to the reports of the committees and Finance and Corporate Services. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. It's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dave Schneider that the 3 items of Finance and Corporate Services Committee be adopted.
Okay, any discussion? Councillor Galloway-Seelock on this or on your report? On this? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that under number 1, we received an email revising and amending the times for the noise exemption. their permission to grade for the Midway, and I just want to make sure those are reflected in the minutes, those changes.
Mr. Bunn is nodding in the affirmative.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Fernandez.
Yep. I just wanted to pull out number 3 and vote for it separately, please.
Okay. And Councillor Gazzola.
I wanted to do the same thing, and what was the second part?
Vote on it separately.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask for a recorded vote on it.
Okay, that's fine. So I'll deal with 1 and 2 first. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And then number 3, recorded vote. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Community Infrastructure Services, Councillor Galloway Seelock.
Yes, it's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Sarah Marsh that 1 through 5 and 7 be adopted, as we've already dealt with number 6.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gazzola.
Again, I'd like item number 7 to be dealt with separately and with a recorded vote.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? No, so I'll deal with items 1 through 5 first. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Item number 7, recorded vote has been requested. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And Planning and Strategic Initiatives, Councillor Singh. Okay, can you click in? Oh, sorry. Okay, so Councillor Ioannidis.
Okay, it's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Galloway Seelock. Item number 1.
Okay.
Be approved.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Heritage Kitchener, Councillor Gazzola, are you bringing that one forward? Okay. Oh, sorry, if you can click in. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Singh that the Heritage Kitchener Committee recommends as follows: that the draft bylaw attached to the Community Service Department report CSD 18022 to allow the city to enter into a heritage easement and covenant agreement with the owner of the lands described as Plan 378, Part Lot 553, and currently municipally addressed as 120 Victoria Street South, in regard to the conservation of the former Hot Glove factory building, be adopted. Just as a note, that's the what we just approved in planning. That building is not now designated, but it is the intention of the developer to designate it, and putting this easement around it gives it even a stronger protection for the city. So and the developer is prepared to enter into that. So that's the first item. The second item deals with that the Mike Wagner Heritage Award, forming part of the Kitchener Great Places Awards, and outlined in Community Services Department Report CSD 18046 be renamed to the Mike and Pat Wagner Heritage Award. The committee dealt with that, and actually I was the one that moved it at the committee, but I wasn't sure whether it should be Mike and Pat or Mike and Patricia. So I would like the committee council to approve that, and I'd like if staff could check with the family to see what they would like it to be called, whether it should be Pat or Patricia, because it'll hopefully be with us for many years to come, and I'd like to have the right recognition.
Sure, and thank you, Councillor Gazzola. Is there, sorry, was there, you did have a seconder for both of those? Thank you, and I think your suggestion's a great one to check with the family on it, and it's great to see us actually adding Pat to the award, because I know the two of them were very much hand in hand in terms of their passion and commitment to heritage. And just of note for council, I think, and Councillor Gazzola, you can help me here, but in the easement on the Huck Love building, that now, it means it's the second building, I think, in the city where we actually have an easement, the other one being St. Jerome's?
That is one, but they're also on a private property. I think the old, not the Shirk House, but the old, one of those. We
has an easement as well. Okay,
yes.
Thank you. So it has been moved and seconded. Councillor Marsh?
Yeah, just a quick question. I was wondering if we have a date set for the next Kitchener Great Places Awards event.
It's the 2019. There isn't one for this year. It comes up next year. It's every other year. So
there you go.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Councillor Schneider.
Just a comment. As a person who had the honor of having Mike Wagner as a teacher at Eastwood Collegiate, I'm really, really happy to see this being put before us.
Great, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Unfinished business. Moving on to new business, we have a couple of resolutions in front of us. The first one, Councillor Galloway-Seelock.
Yes, I'd like to bring the recommendation forward that appears on the agenda. I'll just read the last. Do you want me
Sure,
to
yeah, just the operative phrase.
Therefore be it resolved that the City of Kitchener urges the Region of Waterloo to expedite the expansion of Grand River Transit services into new subdivisions in the southern portion of the city and explore the option of including Saturday and Sunday services into these new destinations. So it's moved by, I'm moving it. I don't know if seconded by Councillor Schneider. I think it's really important for us to encourage the region to move this forward. There's plenty of people who are coming from communities that have public transportation and they rely on it, and if we don't have public transportation in newer subdivisions, they then become car dependent, and that's something that we want to try to avoid. And so the sooner we can get into newer subdivisions, the better I think it will be for our community as a whole. So I would appreciate this being forwarded on to the region if it passes here.
Okay, Councillor Singh on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and it's my pleasure to support the motion that's presented by Councillor Galloway-Seelock. I think it's absolutely a role to advocate for improvement in transit services, especially in the city of Kitchener, especially with significant improvements and investments to public transit through the ION. And through the fanfare, there was a certain expectation by our Kitchener citizens that transit would overall improve not only along the LRT spine but throughout the city, because again the investments towards the LRT would allow for increased resources and investments over time towards the neighborhood streets and all segments of our city, and not just the downtown or along the LRT route. So I strongly compliment Councillor Galloway-Seelock in bringing this forward and bringing this to light that there is still a deficit for public transit within our city that needs to be focused on, as well as I would like to add my comment and you as the representative from Kitchener, Kitchener Council on Regional Council, hopefully you can advocate this as well, that there needs to be ongoing investments throughout the city rather than a reduction in services like some that are possibly being considered, some segments of Ward 6 that may be impacted. We need to have, for good transit, for good public transit, that's a viable option for transit for all. That's an investment that needs to be throughout the region, the cities, not just the focus on the ION and the LRT. So hopefully you will take that on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Fernandez on this?
Yes, I'm sure that everybody received it on their desk, a small amendment to the motion that Councillor Galloway-Seelock put forward, and it was really just adding the word southeastern portion. Did everybody receive it, Jeff?
No.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I thought they did.
You mean southwestern?
No, so I looked at the map, and it's east of Ward 5, so it would be towards the Dune South, Conestoga College. We've got some changes happening in the routes, and I think it's really critical for us to make those connections between the south end of the Kitchener, the southeast end of Kitchener, and Homer Watson, which is going to have an ION along that stretch.
Sure. Councillor Galloway-Seelock?
The whole reason why it is southern, as opposed to, because I wouldn't consider just Ward 5 to be southern Kitchener. I would consider Ward 4 and Ward 5 to be southern Kitchener. And so it was all new subdivisions that were included. So I wouldn't, you can put it in there, but I think it is covered under southern Kitchener. That was part of, it wasn't, I would have put Ward 5 if it was just specific to Ward 5, but it's talking about southern Kitchener and new subdivisions. So that's the intent of the motion.
Councillor Fernandez?
I mean, the new subdivisions could have been included, Councillor Schneider's, Councillor Davies' ward, so I just wanted to be, I wanted that connection between that whole area from Fisher-Home and all the way through to make sure that the connection to the ION is good and solid, and that we make sure that those people have that connection. So I just put it forward as an amendment.
Okay. So is there a seconder for it? The amendment, yes. Okay, Councillor Gazzola, any discussion? Councillor Davey on the motion, or? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just would, I'm not going to muddy it further, but again, Mr. Mayor is representative as well. This is saying a specific location, but if you could do your best to try and extend all of the areas. There is a particular area in the very northern part of the ward I represent, the River Ridge subdivision, where there's hundreds of homes, and I've had comments in the past, and the closest transit stop to this subdivision with hundreds of homes is about 20 minutes away. And it's also a very new area, so obviously lots of young children, quite the range. So 20 minutes is quite a distance. That's approximately the distance walking from the auditorium, for example, to the Kitchener Market. So we can all agree that's an unreasonable expectation for someone to travel. I know that Rome wasn't built in a day, but if you could extend that as well, I would very much appreciate it.
Okay. Councillor Gazzola.
Yeah, I wanted to jump on the bandwagon here also. I can support where we're going with this. I think Grand River Transit needs to look at all the areas. I'm especially interested in an area in the ward that I represent at Trinity Village. They've been trying to get bus service there for a number of years, and it's something that's really needed there, not just for the people that are there, but also the many visitors that come to see those people, and it is really a hardship the way it is today. So in sending this resolution from the city, I think what we're asking that they do look at really all the areas of our cities
Okay. Councillor Galloway-Seelock?
I can appreciate where my fellow councillors are coming from. And I hear what they're saying. My concern is that it's getting fairly muddied at this point, and the point is for new subdivisions. I would suggest that anybody who has a specific area that they want to advocate for, that they can bring forward a motion as well. My concern is, we also have an area in the city where we have a cemetery that is our largest cemetery, and we have no public transit to it. So there's varying reasons why this is focused on South Kitchener, which I can come back to the fact that it wasn't just Ward 5, because if it was Ward 5, I would have said Ward 5, or I would have said Southwest Kitchener. So when I say Southern Kitchener, it's the new subdivisions going in, and I was specific to new. I can appreciate where Councillor Davies is coming from with new subdivisions, but I'm hoping we can focus this one on South Kitchener and leave the rest with the mayor to advocate for.
Okay, and I guess I will certainly take everyone's comments under advisement. I mean, I'm happy to support the amendment, but I will say that I think it is somewhat redundant because, I mean, when you're talking about the South, you're talking about the entire South, as opposed to just the Southeast or just the Southwest. But if I'm happy to support it if Councillor Fernandez, you feel that it somehow adds clarity to it. I will say that in general, the region is in the midst of looking at the next phase of transit expansion. And it's really based on two things. Number one, the reallocation of buses. Once the ION is up and running, there'll be obviously existing bus stock that'll be able to reallocate it to run perpendicular to the system, to the ION operations, and serve communities. And then, in addition to that, last week, the new agreement in regards to Phase 2 of the federal funding was signed. While the specific dollars haven't been announced yet, that should be happening in the next few weeks. We know that anecdotally we represent about 1% of the overall transit service in the country, and because it's based on transit allocation, we should be getting, as a region, about 1% of the funding, and that would represent 40% to be matched by the province at a 33% level, and then ultimately the region would have to contribute the other 27% in terms of the transit-related infrastructure dollars over the next 11 or 12 years. I think that funding is committed for. So with that, I'll deal with the amendment first. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. The motion as amended. Sure.
So then we probably have to change it to southwest and southeast portions of Kitchener, which equals south. So I'm not sure. So I would like to make an amendment to say southwest Kitchener.
Well, it's originally your motion, so...
Which is ridiculous, because now we're going to go forward to the region and look like an idiot because we put southwest and southeast Kitchener.
I'm sure there'll be clarity there.
If we look at the map, Mr. Mayor, if you look at the map, we have north, we have south, and this... No, all due respect, this is an issue.
Look, we've dealt with the amendment. Council supported it. The motion now belongs to council, actually, as a whole. And so we need to deal with it in the context that's there. And I'm sure it'll be very clear for the...
Well, then I would like it to be southwest Kitchener and southeast Kitchener. It's my motion.
Well, it's actually council's motion now that it's been seconded.
Okay, well, then I will put an
difficult.
amendment and ask for southwest.
Okay, is there...
It's a motion that's coming from me, and now it doesn't even have the emphasis on Southwest.
Okay, that's fine. I guess I need, from the clerk, I need some advice. Can I accept an amendment from the mover? Yes? Okay. So is there a seconder? Councillor Ioannidis. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. The motion as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Moving on, Councillor Marsh.
All right. I would like to bring forward the motion that is before us on our council agenda, that staff be directed to bring forward a report to the May 28th Community and Infrastructure Services Committee on the feasibility of a pedestrian-activated signalized crosswalk at the intersection of King Street East and Cameron Street. So at a recent public meeting regarding a major development at the corner of King and Cameron, residents asked for consideration of a crosswalk on King and Cameron to accommodate specifically pedestrians walking to and from Cameron Heights Secondary School. And in discussions with staff, it was determined that if we were to direct them through council, that we would be certain to have the work completed by the end of May.
Okay, is there a seconder?
Councillor Etherington actually and I had discussed it because we share that crosswalk.
That's fine, thank you. Councillor Gazzola?
Yeah, I just have a question. I don't have any disagreement with where we're headed here, but somewhere I was of the understanding that the region is looking, they've come across some more funding, and they're looking at doing this around the region, and I thought there was something going to be coming to us in the very near future, and so I'm just wondering, is there a necessity to jump the gun at this point as opposed to waiting, or am I wrong in that, am I just dreaming that?
So, I don't know who can answer that, if anybody. Can anybody? It looks like nobody can answer that, Councillor Gazzola.
All right, that's fine.
Are you getting at the notion that as part of the approval of this project and you know everything that usually goes with these projects, that this may be one of the requirements that planning staff are putting onto the development?
This is a new direction that we're going into. This question has been raised with our traffic people over a number of years, and they've never supported it. But all of a sudden, something has changed, and our traffic people are heading into this direction. And quite frankly, I think it's a good idea. I'm just saying, though, there's a report coming back to deal with the whole city. Should we be jumping the gun here? That's all.
Mr. Chapman's going to help us here.
Through the chair. So Councillor Gazzola is correct that the provincial regulations have changed recently, and so we had been moving for a time to only signalized pedestrian crossings, and there was an aversion to these lower level of crossings, which are basically flashing lights and a marked crosswalk. Those regulations have changed, and so we are now implementing these. In fact, one has been installed behind Fairview Mall in your ward, and so there was an existing crossing there.
Kind of strobe-like flashers?
Right, and so that is the new standard, if anyone's interested. My understanding is that in a case like this, based on a request, the warrant study would be done. It means a day of traffic counts, a report back to council, and if it is supported, this may be a good candidate for that new level of crossing. This is not a regional road in this location, so my understanding is it would be a city responsibility to install it, and the regulations are in place to allow it.
And that's totally fine. I just was trying to save some duplication here.
Mm-hmm. If I may just also clarify, this is not as part of the traffic impact study that was completed by the developer at that site. This is, it was determined that when that study was completed that it wouldn't have a major impact on that crosswalk, and so, however, staff do see it as something that can be warranted to be looked into regardless of that development.
Okay. Councillor Fernandez.
I think my question's been asked and answered.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Councillor Gazzola.
No, I'm moving ahead.
Oh, okay.
Next section is questions and answers.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sounds good. Just before that, from a regional council update point of view, there is as you know, regional council has been dealing with the issue of safe injection sites. There was a tour that regional councillors, some went on last week, including myself. There's another one coming up, I believe, the week after next. There is on Wednesday of this week a public input session onto the issue at Regional Council, a special meeting of Community Services Committee on Wednesday evening at 6:30, and then there'll be another one on, I believe, just hang on one second. I believe it's April the 4th, but I'm just going to double check. And that one will be in Cambridge, but both will obviously receive input from people. Yes, it's April the 4th. From people in both communities. And this is something that I continue to have some dialogue with both Councillors Islington and Marchand, and we'll see. There may or may not be a motion or something coming to our council as to whether or not we take a position on this or not in the lead up to regional council dealing with this issue. That's really the main thing to touch on regional council. So, Councillor Gazzola, questions and answers.
I just want to ask, I know that this is a local election year, and from my memory, there are a lot of rules and regulations which you can and cannot do. On social media on the weekend, I saw a photograph of something at one of it looked like it was one of our local fire stations, where it was all the representatives of one party, the premier and all the candidates of one party, but that was all, and our firefighters. And I'm just curious as to whether there are rules about that, or is that a normal process for our local public facilities to be used?
Mr. May?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we do have a policy. However, it only applies once the writ has been dropped. In this case, the writ has not been dropped. So we would, whenever we would be approached by a major provincial leader like the Premier or a leader of a political party, we would certainly work with them to see if it's an opportunity for us to talk to them about Kitchener's priorities. So there is no policy that applies until the writ is dropped.
Was that a function of the City of Kitchener? Was it a City of Kitchener function?
No, through you, Mr. Chair, it was a function put on by the KPFFA. So no, what I can tell you is the city didn't spend any amount of money on the event, and any staff that helped out on it were off-duty staff.
It's not a question of the spending. It's just what. So if it was a Kitchener firefighters function, it becomes a City of Kitchener function.
It's a KPFFA event, and they approached us and said, could we host this at the fire station? We looked at it, we understood we could do it without interrupting service, and so we thought it was a good opportunity to be able to press the Premier on some of our issues.
Well, I don't disagree, but it appears that it was a city function.
It was not a city function.
But it was sponsored by the city.
It was not sponsored by the city.
It was located at the city?
It was located at one of our facilities. We have events at our facilities all the time that are not city facilities, or city events.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Fernandez.
Yeah, I think this is more of a question of clerk, but I stand corrected. There has been, in the past, we passed a bylaw allowing parking on the apron, and I've been hearing more and more from residents in Ward 4, and I don't know if other colleagues around the Horseshoe have heard the desire to open up that bylaw. Is that something we can open up before the end of this term of council, or is that something that needs to be moved to the next term of council? I mean, we don't have to have that answer tonight, but I could not recollect if we had passed that pilot and we had turned it down as an entire city.
So we did a pilot in one part of the city, and I'm trying to remember, that was at the end of last term, or if that was during this term? This term as well. It was this term? Mr. Chapman?
The operative words is it's not urgent, and so if it's okay with council, we'll look into it and report back with a definitive answer.
Yeah, that would be great, because I think it would be something that maybe we should review again. Thank you.
And just to provide clarity, are you looking to add it in other areas of the city? Exactly. Okay, that's fine. Anything else? Not. We will move on. Go ahead, Councillor Marsh.
It's back at Regional Council update. I just wondered, is there any update about the Smart Cities application, about what the focus will be on the application for our area?
Mr. Chapman, is that something you can provide? So first of all, it's the application locally will be handled through the region. Because they're the largest government in the area. Councillor Marsh was asking, is there clarity in terms of the direction of the Smart City application?
What I can say is that the region has just concluded their consultation. So as you may be aware, through Engage Kitchener or Engage Waterloo Region, they did engagement. They held some town hall sessions and some workshops. And so I think they're at the point now of distilling all of that feedback down into a direction. And so we should be able to communicate shortly what's coming out of that. I think it's close, but we're not there yet.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to first reading of the bylaws. It's been moved by Councillor Davies, seconded by Councillor Singh, that leave be given the mover and seconder to introduce the bylaws listed on the agenda, and that the same be taken as read a first time and stand referred to Committee of the Whole. But before I do that, are there any additional bylaws, Madam Clerk?
Yes, there is, Mr. Mayor. We have two late starter bylaws, both zone changes, one concerning 1531 and 1643 Bleams Road, and one concerning 114 to 120 Victoria Street South.
Okay, so moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. It's been moved by Councillor Gazzola that Council resolve itself into Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Over to you, Councillor Gazzola.
Yeah, someone move second reading of the bylaws. Moved by Councillor Yanetsky. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. On to our regular agenda. Item number 2 we haven't dealt with, dangerous dog designation appeal. Moved by Councillor Fernandez. Any questions?
Councillor Fernandez has a question.
No, I meant to say I move it, but that's it. I move
no questions? No questions? Any answers? All those in favor? Okay. Item number 4, an encroachment agreement for King Street West. Anyone? Moved by Councillor Marsh. Any questions? In that case, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item number 5, another encroachment agreement to do with 276 King Street West. Moved by Councillor Marsh. Any questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Madam Clerk, are there any other items?
Move that the committee rise and report. That's where you go, all in favor.
Pardon?
You got to do an all in favor.
Oh, yeah, all in favor, sorry. Opposed?
Hold on. Councillor Etherington has something. Councillor Gazzola.
On number 7, just a couple of quick questions. Am I okay for that?
Okay, so I think procedurally you have to move that we take it out from being an information item. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Sorry.
Yeah, all in favor of pulling that out? Opposed? It's carried.
Quick question to Madam Clerk. I seem to remember that I believe it was Councillor Dave Schneider asked for greater detail on what was being spent by councillors for conferences, home, tech expenses. I don't see any extra detail here. Is there detail on the website, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chapman?
Through the chair, if you refer to the bottom of page 8, 7-8, you can see the URL that will take you to the web page where that detail is disclosed.
That's where it is.
Yes.
As with the report from Compass Kitchener, where we take out an advertisement with detail on what is there, we're not doing that with this. We don't do that. Am I correct?
That's correct. The only requirement is that we bring this forward to a council meeting by the end of March.
Okay, my final question, because I was puzzled by this, on page 7-4, could someone explain to me what community event expenses are and why they range from $100 to $1,360, excluding the mayor, which I understand, but Madam Clerk, could you tell me what those expenses are? Community events?
Through the chair, typically those would be the cost of tickets for council members to attend events in the community. And so they may be awards presentations, citizen recognition. You can picture the types of events I'm talking about.
Yep.
Purchased through the mayor's office on behalf of councillors.
Okay, I've just never seen them separated out like that.
So that was a change that was made to align our reporting with the practices of other area municipalities to ensure that we're fully transparent.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions on that item?
You have Councillor Fernandez in the queue.
Yeah, just a question around on page 7-9 around the directors of Kitchener Power Corp. The remuneration lists quite a variation, and then for two councillors it's January to March, and the two councillors it's March to December. Do we understand how many meetings that equates to? So would the January to March be 3 meetings, and then the March to December be 9 meetings?
I can sort of do the best to answer that. Hydro typically meets around 6 meetings a year, and there's a base stipend, and then there's a per meeting stipend. That's how it's structured.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions on item number 7? If not, that's all the questions and all the other proceedings have been done. So it's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Marsh that the proceedings and the recorded pecuniary interests and conflicts taken in the meeting of the Committee of the Whole held this date as attached hereto and forming part of these minutes are hereby adopted and confirmed.
All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. It's been moved by Councillor Davey and seconded by Councillor Singh that the bylaws listed on the agenda for third reading, including the 2 additions, be taken as read a third time, be finally passed and numbered serially by the clerk. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. and it's been moved by Councillor Schneider that we now adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried.